Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the new screensavers is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
The return of Captain Jack Ferret.
Leo sets things on fire.
And 3D printed hearts.
Live from the Twit Brick House in beautiful downtown Petaluma, it's the new Screensavers.
Welcome to the new Screensavers. I'm all alone today because this is a very special new Screensavers for the new year. It's our episode 34, the best of 2015. I'm Leo Laporte. And, 2015 was a great year for us because we began the new Screensavers May 2nd of that year. We've done 34 episodes since, and it's been a huge success. The new Screensavers is now our second most downloaded show, right up there with This Week in Tech. It's been very popular with the audience, and the audience continues to grow, and so I'm thrilled. I'm very gratified. But I know that many of you didn't see every single episode, so we've put together some of the best moments from the first 34 episodes for a best of for you this year. We're going to, in just a bit coming up, we're going to talk about that incredible 3D heart printing technology that's used to help doctors perform life-saving surgery on babies. We're going to meet the man who discovered water on Mars. In fact, he predicted it years ago. We're going to set steel on fire and make some pretty pictures. And we also asked the Twit staff what their favorite tech of 2015 was and what they hope to see in 2016. But we want to start with a great call for help. And this is one of my favorites. In fact, most of you, when you went to our website and voted, most of the staff agreed this is the one. Captain Jack Ferret. He does videos on YouTube about ferrets. That's coming up in just a little bit. But first, Patrick Norton and I talked with Margot from LA. She's an intern, this is really great too, with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And she wanted advice on buying a Linux laptop. Take a look. Hey, it's time for a call for help. And joining us right now from Los Angeles, California, it is Margot. Hi, Margot.
Hey, Leo. Seeing you for the first time, not the second time.
Yes, no. Pay no attention to that earlier conversation that we did not have. Who's that behind you? It looks like your mom.
Oh, that's my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
My mother's mother, yeah.
Yeah, you look a lot like her. That's really a great picture to have. Isn't? Oh, don't do that.
He actually meant that as a compliment.
No, she's beautiful.
No, my grandmother was a beautiful woman, absolutely. That's why we have her up on the wall. So
isn't that nice?
We can strive for her beauty.
Oh. What can we do for you, Margot?
Okay, well, I want to get a new laptop, and I run Linux. Right now, I have a MacBook Pro, and I dual boot into Xubuntu and the Mac operating system. But for my next laptop, I want to have a single boot into Arch Linux. But I can't decide if I should get a laptop that's designed specifically for a Linux operating system or if I should stick with a MacBook Pro or maybe try something else.
Or do you have a dragon tattoo? I'm just asking.
Oh, yeah. I think.
That's awesome. Why you use Linux as, is it your primary operating system or just for fun, or why do you use Linux?
It's my primary operating system. I do a lot of programming.
That's
you guys
neat.
are talking about Mars. Well, I'm an intern at JPL, so
cool.
I've done a lot. Most of my stuff there is programming for one of the projects, actually an instrument that's going to Mars in 2020. So it's just really easy for me to get packages installed using Linux.
Yeah.
When you say a Linux-specific laptop, you're thinking something like System 76 or one of the other sort of boutique Linux laptop companies?
Yeah, I've looked into System 76. My only concern is that I wonder in terms of the price tag if I'm paying more kind of because it's a novelty rather than because it's actually a system that can compete with some of the better laptops that are out there.
It's true. You shouldn't be paying more for a Linux laptop. Right. You don't have the Windows tax. It should be less, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because earlier this year, like April, May, Dell released what they call the XPS 13 Developer Edition, which is essentially that laptop, which I love and covet. And if Leo leaves it laying around, I'll steal it.
It's a great laptop.
Because I'm vile that way. And they actually have it preloaded. I'm pretty sure they're running Ubuntu.
They are.
If they have all
in fact, I have the original last year's version of that. Same thing. It's a Dell XPS 13 with Ubuntu on it. The negative is it still has a Windows key, which I'm not sure what that's supposed to do in Ubuntu.
Yeah, no.
It really annoys me to see that Windows key. That might be one argument.
I don't use Windows.
Yeah, it might be one argument to not get a Windows laptop.
But
also,
it's
no
laptop.
cheaper. It's a great laptop.
Yeah.
I like the bezel-less design. On the other hand, and Dell, by the way, does kind of make sure that the drivers all work, the camera works, everything works.
That's kind of the place you get into. If you buy a fancy new notebook, are you going to be able to get all of the packages you need for the drivers to do all of the stuff inside of the
Arch
laptop?
Linux like a NASA Linux? Is that the Linux they recommend? Is there a reason you use Arch?
Oh, I like Arch just because you can build it up from scratch
Right.
on your own. And, you install everything you want and you ignore everything you don't want, basically.
Yeah.
So.
It's kind of Gentoo is like that as well. A good package manager, and you just build up the things.
So basically, we're talking to a super user that knows more about Linux than both of us put together.
Well, there's no reason why this wouldn't work. As you know, the issue is drivers. So there's there's a trackpad driver, and it's got Arch has to have that available. There's keyboard driver. There's motherboard drivers. Camera, you probably don't care about. Sound, you may or may not care about. But that's the issue always.
Probably care about sound.
So there's a great site.
I do listen to music.
Yeah, all right. Well, you probably do want sound to work. This is a site I've long recommended called Linux on Laptops. There's dashes between the three words.
Oh, nice.
And they go by manufacturer, and then they talk about which Linux would work, best on it, what the driver, this is most important, what the driver situation is. You want a site where people are that it's active and people are continuing to post stuff about. And you can see this goes back quite a way to the G4. I don't know how up-to-date this site is, but I would, it looks like they've got the latest MacBooks there too. So I would take a look at that and you'll see what they say. For this distro, for this hardware, which drivers you need, which drivers work, which drivers don't work. Are you running Arch and Dual Boot right now on your Macintosh?
No, I have it on another computer at the office or at the lab. But right now I'm actually on the OS X side doing this because in general the iSight camera doesn't work too well with Linux, doesn't play too friendly. So if I want to Skype and look nice, I have to do it on the Mac side.
That's what you're using right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does look good. There's a really good picture.
Yeah.
It's funny, like if you dig around in Lenovo's support site, they'll give you an idea. It's funny, like again, going back to laptops I forgot even existed. And they tend to concentrate on Red Hat and a lot of Ubuntu support on theirs, but you'll see it. I think part of it's the advantage. I don't think you're paying a lot more if you're going to System 76 or something like that. You are going with a smaller company, so they're buying fewer laptops, so they get fewer deals. Because they're not buying all of the laptops the way Dell.
So that might be why it costs a little bit more.
The flip side, if you can take a look at something like the XPS 13 or one of the Lenovo laptops, if any of their laptops appeal to you, you can take a look and see whether or not you can get the packages available for that you need to get the driver support for everything.
That's what Cory Doctorow does. He buys Lenovo, he buys ThinkPads. I wonder if he still does in light of the latest revelations about how Lenovo's screwing with people. But Lenovo laptops then puts Linux, blasts Windows off. He doesn't want any bit of Windows on there and puts Linux on them. The other thing about Arch, since it's well supported, is, and that's the distro you want to use. I was just Googling Arch on laptops, and I see a lot of posts. Here's Arch Linux on a Vio laptop, sound quality issues. This is where Linux really benefits from a user base that's devoted and smart and can write their own drivers. And so what I would do is I would probably look at which laptops people are having the best experience with in terms of drivers and go with that one. I mean, you already have a Mac. I would start with the Mac and see how it works. You're saying the eyesight's the big issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge issue because I don't really use it, except for when I come on your awesome show. But
What are you writing in Python for NASA? What language does NASA use for this stuff?
Oh, we use a lot of languages. We use MATLAB, we use
MATLAB.
LabVIEW, Python, and all of the web dev stuff. I do a lot of web dev right now because I'm building out a database for the lab, but I've also coded in Python. We have another intern who's doing Python in our group as well. So, and our instruments are controlled with LabVIEW. So we're all over the place. We
How
use
fun.
anything basically.
What did you study in college?
Oh, well, actually, I have a master's in ethnomusicology.
Of course, because that makes the best programmers.
And
I have a lit degree.
Chinese studies, no degree. You know, we just had a Lisp programmer, a guy who worked for Inference Systems and was writing Lisp artificial intelligence for American Express for many years. I said, how'd you get into that? He said, well, I was a music composition major in college and was a professional composer teaching composition, but the jobs kind of dried out, so I thought, well, Lisp, why not? I think there's definitely a nexus between musicians and programmers. There's just something about that. Almost all the programmers I know are at least, you know, competent amateur musicians. Magicians too. Musicians.
we do magic all the time.
Little sleight of hand. Hey, it's really nice to meet you, Margot. Please stay in touch. Let us know what you're doing at JPL. I think that's exciting.
Yeah, if you want a tour, just let me know. I'm actually going to be moving up to Santa Cruz because I'm going to be doing a PhD in robotics.
Oh,
so
cool.
I'm hoping to come by to your studio and actually sit in on one of these.
That would be awesome.
I've been watching a show since I was like 13 and on ZDTV, so it's really great to experience it live.
Yeah, Patrick and I are really old.
Yeah, just kidding.
No, that's awesome. It's very nice to meet you, Margot. You know, that's one of the things, if you're a Linux person, part of the thrill and the fun of it is you gotta often have to roll it yourself.
Your blanket, your sack of cookies,
yeah,
your
I
bottle
felt
of
guilty
tequila.
buying a Dell laptop with Linux already installed. It's like, well, if I were a real Linux user, I'd figure it out on my own. So it's really nice to meet you, Margot. Thanks for joining us.
Both of you.
I hope we helped you a little bit. We'll see you next time. You know, when we went back through moments in 2015, there was one that just stood out. It was a real emotional segment for me, and I think just a fascinating example of how technology is making people's lives better, in fact, saving the lives of very young children. Father Robert was my co-host that day, and he and I had the chance to talk to Justin Ryan. He's a PhD and the man who has built and runs the Cardiac 3D Print Lab at the Phoenix Children's Hospital. He was joined for this interview by a mom of one of the patients, Stephanie Stark. So let's take a look inside that 3D printing lab at the Phoenix Children's Hospital. Look at these. These are beautiful. These are actual 3D printed models of children's hearts. We're talking right now with Justin Ryan. He's a researcher at the Phoenix Children's Hospital. And he runs the 3D lab. With him, Stephanie Starks. She's the mother of one of the children. Hello, it's good to have you and welcome.
Hello.
Wow, this is an amazing story. First of all, tell us your story, Stephanie, if you don't mind. Tell us what happened.
Well, I was pregnant with our third child and got the anatomy ultrasound. Everything looked great. My husband and I, did the high five. We have a healthy baby. We've done it. We're so happy. Gave birth a few months later. Turns out she is missing half of her heart. Mm. So she began to struggle to breathe. We were at home and she closed her eyes and she stopped breathing. Oh. And we called 911. They rushed us to Phoenix Children's Hospital and she's a couple days old, and the doctor comes out and says she's missing half of her heart. And I had never heard of such a thing, so I'm thinking that I'm surely going to lose my baby.
Yeah.
You can't live without a heart. That's kind of important. So it was living a nightmare. Yeah, that's Gemma. That's my sweet baby. They then introduced us to her cardiologist and said, well, we can do surgery. We can help her. And she may even be able to live and have a full life. I literally fell to my knees, could not even imagine that they could do this for me. And they did. So she's had 3 open heart surgeries. She's now almost 2. Yeah, there she is. It was
It must be hard to see your baby like that. I can only imagine. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't want to bring this all back, but she's 2 now. And how's she doing?
Amazing. Amazing. She is thriving. She's talking. She's running. She's jumping.
Oh
she's
my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations. That's
That
wonderful.
was on her. That's her 1-year heart anniversary. That's her shirt for her 1 year after her first open heart surgery. She's in every way a miracle, but she's really here because of this guy next to me, Dr. Justin Ryan. He's doing incredible life-saving work here, and he's a big reason that I'm able to hug and watch my child grow.
Oh,
They've saved her life and given her an incredibly full life.
well, we're so happy for you.
Thank you.
Justin, tell us about the procedure. What is it that you do? Is this, and I take it these are actually, you sent us
well,
these.
the one that Padre's holding is actually Gemma's heart.
No.
Yeah, see the missing
Yeah.
part?
Wow. Look at that.
Yeah, if you look, there's next to the big red part is a tiny purple part, and that purple part is supposed to be the same size. It just didn't grow. This is actually a fairly, it's kind of blue actually. Yeah, that part you're touching with your fingers to below.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the underdeveloped. That's her right side. Her right ventricle just didn't grow and like it was supposed to. So 20 years ago, these kids were sent home to die.
Yeah. So
And
how did
today-
Justin? How do you make this model? First of all.
Yeah, well, each of these comes from an actual patient. So we start with the patient. In Gemma's case, on day 3, she received a CT scan with a contrast agent, which illuminated part of her heart. And if we can get the tech people there, I'm going to try to share my screen so I can
good.
show
Let's
what
see
a CT scan looks like.
You may be able
Wow.
to make a heart model. I doubt very much we're going to be able to do that. Oh, it
Oh,
worked.
wow. Okay.
All right. So here's a CT scan. So this is basically a slice right through the chest as I kind of scroll back and forth.
Right.
So these large black areas are the lungs. These central areas are basically the contrast parts or the areas of blood. So if these are a bunch of slices of data, we can kind of stack them one on top of another in order to create a 3-dimensional model.
Wow. Oh, Dr. Ryan, I've seen CT scans before. I've seen MRI scans. How much more important is it to have an actual 3D model of the heart for a surgeon?
Well, it gives them more information than ever before. Before, a doctor would have to look at a 2-dimensional CT scan, even though it's a 3-dimensional volume, each of those slices is discrete. So giving them more information than ever before, we perceive helps them out. So holding a heart in their hand before they ever set room in the operating room. So on day 3, Gemma had the CT scan. We produced the model, and then I believe on day 8 is when the first surgery happened. So a doctor actually saw the heart before they were ever in the operating room.
They knew and this is so accurate that they were able to really look at it and kind of plan the surgery and figure out what they're going to do.
Exactly.
What are all these colors? We see so many different colors, and
This is not a color of a heart, obviously.
no, obviously not. But I mean, it must mean something to a surgeon.
It does mean something to a surgeon. It means something to a student learning medicine. It means something to a family member. When I, hold a heart, if I present this to a family and say this is tetralogy of flow with multiple aortopulmonary collateral arteries, suddenly they gloss over with all that information.
Yeah.
But if I can say the blue parts are supposed to be oxygen poor, red parts are supposed to be oxygen rich, and the green parts shouldn't be there. Suddenly things start clicking. Then you can go into more and more detail. Wow. But it's all about information, creating something nice and succinct that conveys information either to a surgeon, to a student learning medicine, or to a family member who is going through a very, very difficult time.
It looks like you do this with other body parts as well.
Yeah, behind me here is kind of a tray of different anatomies to show how different technologies work. So the heart models are using a 3D printer that does full color. It's kind of like a resin, but we also do plastic parts. So this is a kind of brain lobe.
Wow.
But then you can do some cool stuff with that. You can create a silicone mold out of that 3D printed brain and cast whatever you want inside there. If it's a ballistics gelatin or a different type of silicone, the possibilities are really endless. Just tons of different anatomies. This is a different 3D printed model printed on an object machine by Stratasys, and it's flexible.
Wow.
So this is an aorta of I believe, a 65-year-old person. And what's inside of here are materials of different hardnesses, so representing plaque. So
You can
an
actually see the
interventionalist can
plaque
actually
in
go in there and deploy a device to see how anatomy reacts.
Incredible. You use, it looks like a Z-Corp printer there behind you?
Yes, the Z-Corp printer is a big printer. It was about $70,000 when we initially got it, so a bit of a buy-in, but it allowed us to do, incredible models, give physicians more information than ever before. The cool thing about the Z-Corp printer is it does full color, so it allows us to really capture all the information we want to show in one single model.
Were you trained in this, Dr. Ryan? Are you a 3D printer expert, or did you have to acquire this skill in the process of doing this?
I'm certainly becoming quite the expert. My background's in animation. I got my undergraduate in digital art. Had a very, very good advisor, Dr. David Frakes, who had this vision for this lab. He brought me into his engineering team, and then subsequently I got my master's and PhD in biomedical engineering, and I'm the lead research scientist in the lab doing these models.
Is Phoenix Children's Hospital the only hospital doing this, or is it starting to become more commonplace?
It is certainly starting to become more and more commonplace. Right now, though, just a few handfuls of hospitals are doing this. Mayo Rochester has a great program. Children's Hospital Philadelphia, DC Children's are really the big ones right now. Toronto Sick Kids as well. But it is a hefty buy-in. The Z-Corp machine's about $70,000. Some of the more fancier printers, $300,000 plus $1,000. So the challenge is to bring this technology to more and more hospitals. So we have a FlashForge creator, which is more of a maker-style machine, and we're trying to get that machine to produce 80% the accuracy of the $70,000 printer at 2% the cost.
Right.
So we do recognize that smaller hospitals need this technology, but it's a challenge to downgrade basically from the 70,000 to the sub 2,000 printer.
Yeah, Dr. Ryan, it's interesting that you bring up the maker community, because I look at that FlashForge and I look at the resolution of this print. It is absolutely amazing, and the material that it uses is unlike anything I've ever used, and I do a lot of 3D printing. So I'm wondering if you could inspire a generation of makers to really get to it. What's important? When you look at the quality of prints, when you look at the materials that you want to use, what should we be working on as the maker community to help you? What kind of technology should we develop for your work?
That's a great question. Well, one thing is just to get interested in, and don't be afraid to email your nearest hospital. If you have a printer and you have time, then email the heart center at your local hospital, email the orthopedics program, and see what you can do. But also specifically for the do-it-yourself or the maker, understanding that this print does not need to be the final step. You can go to a casting step. So this brain was 3D printed on a dimension machine, so basic FDM technology, but we made a cast out of it. And this cast allows us to create a mold out of it, but we can cast whatever we want inside here. If that's plastic, if that's a gelatin material, if it's a silicone. So material properties really open up. So understand that the final model doesn't need to be the direct 3D print.
It could be a cat. It could be a mold.
Well, let's go a little sci-fi here. How long before there's already research into this, we start printing actual organs and actual body parts and actual bones?
Wouldn't that be amazing?
It's definitely a challenge, and it's hard to say. Some centers are certainly doing tissues, early organs. I know Rice University has a great program under Jordan Miller, so I'm excited to see what he comes up with. The challenge is, if we visualize just a spherical organ, as you start printing layer by layer by layer, there's a dead area on the inside that no oxygen, no nutrients is getting to. So the challenge is, how can we print vasculature at the same time as we're printing tissue? And that's the kind of great challenge right now that we see. But it's certainly getting there. The other thing is, just like 3D printing, sometimes it's not the final step. Maybe we can print off a scaffolding that we seed with cells. That might be the best option to get to.
Right, just grow the cells inside of the structure that you want it to take. That's amazing. I have to say, I'm blown away. Not often do we get to combine such a heartwarming story and such an incredible tech story. This is one for the books.
Stephanie, I'm sure you're very glad you went to Phoenix Children's Hospital.
Oh, to be, 3 days postpartum, find out that your child may be dying, and then, the cardiologist comes in with pen and paper and tries to draw a heart. Yeah, I took biology in college. I don't remember that much about hearts. And what do you mean the right side didn't grow? It doesn't make sense. Then when Justin comes out with this model, it changes everything. And not just for me. So my daughter's getting older. The right side of her heart is not going to grow back. This is her heart. It's functional, but it's different. But now I can hand this to her. I can show her, this is what your heart looks like. This is what you're dealing with. It takes the confusion away. Some of these negative feelings of what's wrong with me now becomes, oh, look, this is what I have to work with. It's incredible. It's completely changed our lives.
And I gave Stephanie the STL, the 3D file of Gemma, and she went to, I think, Shapeways.
Oh, look at this.
And she actually got
some jewelry.
See?
Gemma's heart might not be
my
super
gosh.
clear.
So I wear her heart.
You
around
literally
my neck
wear her
every day.
heart.
I literally wear her heart. Yep. It stays by mine all the time.
That is so touching. What is Op Heart before we go?
Well, we are trying to create a clinical trial around this to not just print off models and give them to surgeons, but make sure we understand how they affect the surgery. Do we reduce surgical time? Do we reduce morbidity and mortality? So this clinical trial will be key to showing that. In order to do that, we need to fund it. So Op Heart is a nonprofit group that has two main focuses. One is providing pediatricians, pediatric surgeons with more tools, such as 3D printing. So they're helping to fund the clinical trial. But they also focus on giving families more information than ever before, helping a family understand what hospital has in terms of surgical outcomes, so you know where to best go for your child with a very specific heart issue.
Could you spell the URL? Is it OPHEART?
That's correct.
.org.
.org. Everybody
Yes.
should visit and support Op Heart. I can't thank you enough, Justin and Stephanie, for sharing. Stephanie for sharing your story with us. We wish all the best for Gemma. It's such a heartwarming story. It's such a great outcome. And
Thank you
Justin,
so much. Thank you so much.
And if anyone wants information on the lab itself or to see more of the cool projects we have specifically, cardiac3dprintlab.com is specific to the lab. And we also have an email on there. If anyone has any questions, feel free to email us.
Well, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of people in the maker community very interested now. Justin Ryan, Stephanie Starks, thanks for joining us on the New Screensavers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really a beautiful story, heartwarming
incredible.
story.
Wow.
Yeah. Can you imagine as Gemma grows up, this was your heart?
Yeah, you have a picture of your heart, the thing that almost killed you.
Unbelievable. So a little update on that segment. We did check back with Ryan. He said things are moving along at the lab. And of course, as we mentioned, you can always visit their website, cardiac3dprintlab.com. In fact, he was at a radiology conference a few weeks ago, and he tells us someone recognized him and said, "Were you the guy on the New Screensavers?" So thank you for that. Ryan also saw a segment we did a little later on Z Space. Remember the, wow, that was wild, the augmented reality system. That was from episode 6. And he contacted them, and the hospital's going to be getting one soon for virtual surgery research. So I love that we made that connection. Now, changing the pace a little bit, what was your top technology for 2015? More Twit staffers tell us their faves.
Hey, how's it going? What's up? My favorite piece of tech from 2015 this year? I don't know. I just got out of like a 4-hour meeting. It would be whatever lets me not have 4-hour meetings.
It's the remastered version of Gears of War, the original. So it's the Gears of War Ultimate Edition. And yeah, I just had a really great time.
Let's see, how many Apple products were released this year?
I have to say the Apple Watch.
The iPhone 6S and the iPad Pro.
I really like the new Apple TV, and the Twit apps are really cool.
The Apple Watch came out that was this year, right?
The Amazon Echo. If you are one of these people who likes to tinker and you want to start automating your home, this is Siri for your home. This is OK Google for your home. You just don't know it yet.
My electronic toothbrush. It has a little monster character on it. It was my son's, but now it's mine.
My Nexus 5X. A Chromecast.
It's like the only thing I use every day is the Chromecast.
Chromecast audio, all the speakers, it can now sync between both the speakers that we have, but however many Chromecast audio devices you have throughout your house, it all syncs up. Same music, Taylor Swift, for my kids, not for me.
Can't think of anything. I'm just blacking out of like everything that I've encountered in the entire year.
My new Droid Turbo 2, it's a little too big and it doesn't have a fingerprint sensor. That's basically the only problems I have with it.
I like these pair cables that I got for connecting with all my devices because my kitten chews through all my cords and the pair cables have outlasted Venom.
Garmin Approach S6. It's about a $350 wearable that helps me with my golf game.
It has to be my iPhone 6s Plus, as I just got that a few weeks ago and I love it in rose gold. I also enjoyed using the Samsung Gear VR. Jason Cleanthes brought that into the studio a while back, and I had a lot of fun playing with that.
Probably my favorite piece of tech this year was the little Sphero BB-8 or Google Cardboard. Probably Google Cardboard.
It's not too expensive. Nice gateway to VR.
Oh, I got it. Okay, I know people are going to disagree with this, but I'm going with it. Apple Music and Beats One. Apple Music because I like the playlist curation. I've discovered some pretty cool music. Beats One because I think it's really interesting that they've got, musicians, actual artists like Elton John doing radio shows so you can hear what kind of music they're listening to. So I think it's an interesting idea. Apple Music and Beats One, those are my choices.
Well, of course, this was a great year for movies and a great year for Mars. We had the film The Martian, which got everybody all excited about Mars. In fact, you may remember we talked to Andy Weir, the author of The Martian, in episode 14 back in August. We did not put that in our best of. There was a lot to choose from. However, I wanted to do the part that wasn't science fiction, the part that was actually a discovery of water on Mars. Jason Calacanis was my co-host on that day, and we had the chance to talk to the man who not only predicted water on the planet years ago, but got to confirm it in 2015. Luhendra Oha is a geomorphologist with NASA. And here's that interview. They could do that on Mars now.
This is the thing. If you got water, you could have fish.
You could have fish.
If you got fish, you could have calamari.
Yeah, and lettuce.
It's delicious.
To go with a calamari.
A little calamari, you get some tomatoes, you get some sauce, you get the gravy.
Gabagool on the side, you got a lot of
I love a little gabagool. You could have the mutts too, because you
the
have
mutts?
Well, if you got the water, you put the curd in the water, you need it.
You got the mutts?
You got the mutts.
Oh, man, the mutts.
We can
I
be
love
doing
it. Do you ever stretch your mutts?
Of course you stretch. You gotta work your mutts.
You work your mutts.
You gotta work it. You don't want to stretch it too much.
Okay. He's teaching me Brooklyn here, by the way.
He just worked the mutts.
He's good. Jason Calacanis is here.
Hey-o.
We're confusing Luhendra. Luhendra Oja is joining us via Skype now. He's a geomorphologist. He's in France, so thank you for staying up late. It's so nice to talk to you. You must be very vindicated. You must feel very good about the latest from Mars.
Well, first let me correct you. I'm not from ASU. I'm from U of A.
Oh,
I'm
sorry. Sorry, not ASU, U of
no
A.
worries. My friends would be very mad if I didn't correct you.
I know the difference.
Yeah, I mean, in some sense, vindicated, but, the work started back in 2010 when I was an undergrad and, graduated, went to grad school and kept pursuing this topic. And, the paper came out a couple of days ago and, well, lo and behold, I was apparently right.
How did you know as an undergraduate to actually think that there was... Now, by the way, it's not just water, it's liquid water. It's flowing water.
Yeah, and that's one distinction we got to make. I mean, Mars has polar caps, much like Earth. There's a south polar cap, there's a north polar cap, and we know there's a lot of ice in those polar caps. What we're saying is that, this is water in its liquid form, not in solid form, not ice. So that's the big distinction here. And in terms of how I went to look for it, I mean, it was just completely accidental discovery. It wasn't supposed to be there. I mean, I wasn't looking for it.
How did you accidentally discover? You were on like Google Maps just looking, and you're like, that looks like a river.
No, yeah, I mean, pretty much like that, but basically we have an awesome satellite orbiting Mars. It's called MRO, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, and it can go to different parts of Mars and take pictures at different times. So if you take images from, let's say, October, and you compare the same image with an image from November, and if something had changed between that time, you'll be able to detect it. And that's what's happening in Mars. And these features were forming and is sort of growing over time. And that was our first clue that, something is growing over time. And at the times when they were growing, the temperature was just perfect for liquid water to exist on the surface. So
it's a balmy what? What's the temperature?
The temperature, but a lot of people think that Mars is cold, and that's true, like overall. But at the times when these things are forming, it's forming in the summer. So at summer, the temperature can exceed 30 degrees Celsius.
Oh, it's hot.
Yeah, it can be very hot, and it can be up to 8 hours per day in these locations where the temperature is above 0 degrees Celsius. So ice can melt, and so the conditions are just right.
So I'm going to make a prediction here, and I think I got a 50% chance. I think we're going to find vegetation on Mars.
What? No.
No, not possible?
No.
But I have a 50-50 chance. Either it's yes or no. No, but what's the next discovery? If they said we didn't have ice, then we had ice, now we have water, is the next logical conclusion there's something in the water?
Correlation doesn't equate to causality. Right. And we got to be careful about that. The only thing we can really say is that these places where we find liquid water probably are more habitable places on the surface of Mars than the rest of the planet, which is sort of bone dry. So that's all we can say, and it would be great, And there are plans to maybe explore some of these sites in detail in the future, and we'll know more about it then.
Well, for those who watched The Martian this week, and I know the movie came out this week. The other kind of impact of this discovery means that it would be a lot easier to send a manned mission to Mars. Is that right?
Yeah, somewhere to take a shower.
Yeah,
take a bath.
Lifting all that water is really costly, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that is true. And also it's sort of futuristic to think about it. But we're not only detecting water, but we're also detecting this particular sort of salt called the perchlorates, which is just chlorine and oxygen. And both water and perchlorates can be used as rocket propellant fuel. So, we're talking about maybe 100 or, 500 years from now. But not only resources for, because we need water to drink and survive, but also excellent resources for rocket fuel.
For the fuel to get back. Yeah. That's kind of amazing.
Yeah, and to go from Mars to any other destination we have in our mind. Yeah.
Wow. Do we know how much? Do we know what the composition is? How much do we know about this flowing?
Yeah, normally, let me be clear. We're not exactly just like looking at liquid water. Most of the times when we do this sort of spectral study, what we're finding is that the water molecule is trapped inside the crystal structure of a salt. So the problem is when we observe the surface of Mars with this satellite, we are observing during the driest time of the day. So by that time, most of the water on the surface has completely evaporated. So we don't really have a good handle on how much water exactly. But as far as the composition goes, it's probably very salty because we are finding the water inside the salt structure itself. So the pure water, for example, if you have a glass of pure water on Earth, it's very stable. It'll not, it will remain in the liquid state anywhere from 0 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius. You take the same glass of water to the surface of Mars, it will start boiling as soon as the temperature gets anywhere close to 10 degrees Celsius. So the pure water on the surface of Mars is very, very unstable.
Do you think we're going to be able to terraform Mars? I know it sounds futuristic and like we're talking about something out of like Prometheus or a Ridley Scott film.
But we're running out of resources,
space.
We're kind of made a mess of this planet.
Elon was talking about like putting a nuclear bomb or a temporary sun there to melt the water, melt the ice, and then maybe we could start terraforming. Do you think that's realistic?
Is that cuckoo?
It's futuristic, and sure, one century is magic and another century is science. Sure, I have no problem with that, but we got to be careful because there's this entire idea about planetary protection. That if we ever want to find out if life only originated on Earth, or if there was ever a time when life originated on other planets, then if we go there and start terraforming without getting a conclusive answer that there was never a second Genesis on Mars, then we lose a great data point.
Well,
so we need to explore that first and then go and, sort of think about terraforming.
It's really amazing. I mean, so there could be life. You'd have to figure out if life was there. You don't want to displace the life that's already there, that kind of thing. There's an ethical issue there. What's next? Now that we know that there is, at times, not always, flowing water on Mars, what else are we going to look for?
I think one of the big questions right now is where that water is coming from. I mean, Mars is a pretty arid place, so where's that water sourcing from? Is it sourcing from the atmosphere? Is it sourcing from some sort of aquifer there is in the underground? So we don't really know that. I mean, we see water, but where is that coming from? Yeah. And so, figuring that out would probably be our first, sort of goal. And the other goal to really find out is the question you were asking me earlier, and how much water is there?
Right.
We see just like wicking of the surface. We don't really know if it's a gallon or like 200 gallons. Or, we need to understand that better.
How did the water get there?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and we're going to find that out, and I'll come back in 5 years and tell you.
We have no idea is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, these salts that we're finding on the surface of Mars called perchlorides, that's composed of chlorine and oxygen, they're called hygroscopic, and that's just a fancy word we use to describe this property called deliquescence, which means that they can absorb atmospheric moisture and turn into liquid. So, we think that it might be atmospheric because these things are very hygroscopic, but also it could be melting of ice on the subsurface. I mean, we just don't really have a good handle where that water is coming from.
And it sounds like, since you said it evaporates, it must precipitate. Is there weather on Mars?
There's definitely a weather. I mean, Mars has an obliquity, much like our Earth, and it rotates around the sun, but most of the season is controlled by the inclination, obliquity of the planet, just like our Earth. When it happens to be sudden summer, it's actually closer to the sun, so it actually gets more hotter during the sudden summer. So, yeah.
Wow, fascinating.
Yeah,
what are you doing in France? Do you live in France, or are you coming back here? Where are you based?
No, I'm based in Atlanta. I am a graduate student at Georgia Tech. I am in France for a National Science Foundation fellowship for about a month. So after this, I'll be back in the United States.
Wow, Georgia Tech. That is so exciting. And you must feel so vindicated that 5 years ago as an undergraduate, you predicted this, and to actually have the pictures now to prove it must be so exciting for you.
Yeah, I mean, those pictures were back from 2010, 2011. What we did new here is not only just look at the picture, but actually do chemical. I mean, what we found in this paper, what's new about this result is that we're not looking at image and saying, hey, that looks like water, maybe water. No, that's not what we're doing. What we're doing is actually giving chemical evidence. We're finding chemical evidence in molecular water. Wow. It's not just photogeology, but it's actually
it's detective.
Rigorous.
It's detective work is what it is, really, right?
Yeah. Right, yeah.
You look at it with a magnifying glass or the equivalent. Are you doing spectroscope stuff and things like that?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. All the results we're reporting now is spectroscopy, and
spectroscopy.
Yeah.
Spectroscopy.
Yeah.
Spectroscopy. I know them well.
Something or other.
That's exciting.
So these Goldilocks planets they've been talking about, the ones that are
They're
perfect.
Just right.
Just
not
right.
Too hot,
not too
too
far
cold.
from the sun. There's a lot of them. What do you think the chances in our lifetime are that we are actually able to confirm that there's life on one of those? Do you think that's going to happen in the next 20, 30 years?
I mean, some people are optimistic.
What about you?
I'm sure there's something out there. I mean, I don't know where we're going to find it. For example, we have Curiosity on Mars, and, Curiosity is actively seeking signs of past life or even present life. So I'm sure we'll find life in within the next 100 years, but in what form, I don't know. And where, I don't know.
She's too far away to go down and check out these
Actually, right where Curiosity is, there's a peak there called Mount Sharp, and we found some of these features that look very similar to what we see elsewhere. So we think that there are these recurring slope lineae. That's what we call them, the technical word. And yeah, we do find them where Curiosity is.
Wow.
But then again, the Curiosity was not sent to Mars to actively find out about these sort of features. And also some people have concerns that, Curiosity might still harbor some terrestrial life. Then if we go to putative water source and contaminate it with our dirty microbes, then, so we'll never answer if life ever came to be on Mars on its own.
What a great, you've chosen a great profession, Lujendra, and we're really glad you could share it with us. Lujendra Ojha is a geomorphologist working on his doctorate at Georgia Tech and joins us from France, where he's there on a NASA fellowship. It's great. Thanks for staying up late, and it's great to talk to you. Congratulations on a very exciting find.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you, Lujendra. Take care. Wow.
It's pretty amazing. Like
we live in very interesting times.
I was just talking to somebody. I went to a dinner for SETI, right, the Search for Extraterrestrial Life, and that's right here in Northern California.
Yeah.
And
we talk to Seth Shostak all the time.
Yeah, and so there's a pretty good chance they're gonna get some serious funding from an individual, not Elon Musk, but another.
There's a few guys around that
there's
could
a person
fund it.
who's going to fund it, or he told me he's going to, and it's going to be like a 9-figure funding, perhaps.
Nice.
And for SETI or for some project to basically find the radio waves. So it's very interesting. We find water here on Mars, right, our closest planet, but we're going to be finding radio waves from one of these other planets.
You saw what Edward Snowden said. He said they're probably encrypted. They probably look like a random binary data.
He might be a little bit of a conspiracy theorist on that one.
Oh, okay. They might be trying to contact us.
They might. Yeah, I think in our lifetime we're going to find out that
we are not alone.
That we're going to pick something up. We're going to pick something up, and I think it's going to be profound for humanity.
Well, of course it will.
Yeah.
Many a science fiction novel written about that notion of what's the psychological impact of finding out we're not alone.
Yeah.
And it'd be an amazing thing.
Yeah. Well, we just started talking about it, right? Like, what should we terraform that planet? It's like, well, what if it had life on it?
I'm glad he brought that up. There's a real ethical issue that comes up.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Screw them. It's ours.
We got there first.
We got there. Hey, come on. Get out of here. I got some work to do.
If you wanted it so bad, maybe you should have put up a fight.
Yeah, a sign, something. Let us know.
We showed up. We took the water.
And by the way, not just a great year for Mars, a great year for Pluto, too. We had some great interviews with space scientists about the Pluto New Horizons expedition and those amazing high-res pictures. One of the things she said when we talked to her is, you ain't seen nothing yet because the data rate is so slow from New Horizons. We're going to be getting pictures for months to come. And in fact, we have seen in just the last few weeks even more super high-res pictures of Pluto. It's so exciting to see. Well, back to our staff. They love technology, and we've asked them what they thought about 2015, but we also wanted to know what technology they're looking forward to in 2016. Take a look.
What am I looking forward to next year?
Can I put this in the microwave first?
I don't know. I got nothing.
Maybe the VR stuff.
Specifically, I really want to get my hands on the HTC Vive headset. I've heard so many good things about this. Super high-res VR environment. It actually can even track, if you have the right hardware hooked up, you can put on the goggles, and if you have a lot of room, you can walk around in your environment and it will track you inside the VR environment. Super cool stuff. I don't know how much time I'd have to use it, but I really want to play around with it.
I went to the PlayStation Experience and they have a virtual reality headset, like goggles coming out for PlayStation, but since I'm an Xbox person, it'd be really nice if Xbox came out with one, although I'm sure they won't for a couple years, but if somehow next year they surprised everybody with a VR headset for the Xbox, that'd be really cool.
I am looking forward to the next Google Glass, so I can take a picture of my kid without using my hand or my phone.
I would hope with all the Star Wars hype that they'd release the original Star Wars trilogy unaltered on Blu-ray, officially.
I'm actually really looking for the second and third generation of 3D printers. We've been going 3D printers in a big way here at TWiT. And we've got some really good ones. Everything from the DaVinci Junior to the RepRap to the Dremel Idea Maker. Those are nice, but they do feel very first generation. There's not a lot of bells and whistles. Most of it has just been getting it to work properly. I'm starting to see 3D printers come down the pipeline, and I think we'll see them at CES, where they are honest to goodness, full duty. You could keep them running the entire day, 3D printers, and get to the convenience point where it's just set and forget, rather than checking in every once in a while, making sure your 3D print is not going wrong.
What do I want to see next year? Smart pants. The Google Smart Pants that we heard about on Google I/O. I want
to be able to rub the side of my pants and have them do something fancy, and I want them to also run iOS. Please, Google. Thank you.
Looking forward to the Xbox 2, the second generation of the Xbox One. They're definitely going to be coming out with that. And the PS5 probably next year, too.
I'm looking forward to the new iPhone, the iPhone 7. I don't know anything about it, but my iPhone 6 has been having some battery problems lately, so a new iPhone would be good.
I know, self-lacing shoes. That way I can have the laces on my shoes, like from Back to the Future. But then, because Anthony is saying that my shoes, I just have slip-ons. So if I had self-lacing shoes, then I get the benefit of not having to tie my shoes, and they still look classy with a sport coat. That's what I'm talking about, right? Because then I could wear a sport coat with shoes. Where are you going? Hey, wait, I wasn't done yet.
I think we saved the best call for last. I love this kid. He calls himself Captain Jack Ferret, and he wanted some advice on promoting his YouTube channel. Take a look. Jacob is on the line from Alabama.
There he is.
Oh,
hi everyone.
Nicely,
track real quick. Sorry.
Nicely dressed.
Nice bow ties. Bow ties are cool.
Thank you.
What the hell
Whoa.
is that you got there?
Oh, hi. Yes. This is a ferret.
What is your question?
So I make ferret videos at youtube.com/CPT Jack Ferret, or
wait a minute,
Captain Jack
you're
Ferret.
Captain Jack Ferret? No spaces?
All right.
No
okay.
spaces. Yeah.
No spaces?
Yeah, I thought
Okay.
people
That
might
would be
get
your
the CPT confused.
youtube.com/CPTJACK.
Captain Jack Ferret.
FERRET. Captain Jack Ferret. There it is.
Yeah, and there's my video saying thank you guys to 50 subscribers.
Oh, that's
awesome. That's part of my thing here.
Yeah.
My notes. So currently I'm sitting at around 50 subscribers, and I want to grow that. So my question is, what advice would you guys give to someone like me trying to grow their ferret channel?
I got a ferret. Ozzy, chase rabbits.
That's actually funny because there's a story in China of people giving steroids to ferrets and trying to sell them as what? Shih Tzus?
No, come on. That's
Yes,
terrible.
that actually happened.
How many ferrets do you have?
I have 2 right now.
Oh, okay. Are
I've
they
got
male?
Jack here.
Oh, jeez.
He's my bigger ferret. And he's my first ferret. He's actually where the name came from. His full name's Captain Jack Sparrow.
Right.
But I changed the YouTube name for clarification purposes because this thing is no sparrow.
It's really hard to, I mean, first of all, I think in some ways you did the right thing. You can't get much more narrow than a ferret channel.
Right.
But as it turns out, I did a YouTube search for ferrets, and there's 107,000 ferret videos on YouTube. This is not at all unpopular, apparently.
Right.
Who would have thunk it?
Well, if you look at one of my recent videos, you can actually play it. There's nothing in there that's copyrighted. If you look there, you'll see that these guys, even though they're looking calm right now, they are extremely playful and very curious.
So they're
summarize them
cute.
quickly.
People would like to. Let's see. This is your most recent video. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. Stop panning so much. Holy cow.
Yeah, that's a lot of jiggle on that camera.
Wait a minute. Is that a raccoon? What is that?
This is like
Yeah,
a
that's
Bigfoot video.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I actually got a tripod set up.
Good.
Yesterday.
Oh,
I'll
I've
be
seen
using that now.
I've seen ferrets do this in the tube. Was that your video with the ferrets doing the tube chase?
This is my probably not, because I just got into ferret videos recently.
Apparently, that's a popular thing to do, is have ferrets chase.
Yeah, ferrets are like extremely playful and curious kittens that never grow up and also like to steal all your things. So they make really good ferret videos. I mean,
Wait a minute, they steal your things?
Oh yeah, they're pack rats.
Yeah.
What do they do with them?
They take them to wherever their hiding spot currently is.
Wow.
You know, something else you might want to try is if you've got a camera that can either zoom out a little bit or put a wide-angle lens on it, you may actually find that it gets a little less nauseating for your audience to watch the video.
The new screensavers with 100 more animals.
You know, I think Captain. What do we call you, Captain Jack, or no? That's the ferret.
You can call me Jacob. You can call him Jack too if you don't want to add the
Captain Jacob. I think you are a character.
Yes.
And I think we want to see more of you, too. That's the other thing is anybody can do videos of ferrets chasing each other around. I think you need to start making, I don't know, something different, something new, something creative, and incorporating you into this. Maybe we're talking ferret puppet shows. Maybe you could have, I got an idea, ferret tea party.
There we go.
Can you get the ferrets to sit still in a chair?
They would probably jump off.
Yeah, I would put. Don't you think? But
You
Madre,
should be part of the content.
Part of the video
because there could be millions of ferret videos, but there's only one you.
Captain Jacob. So I agree with you. I think you're unique.
Yeah.
And I think that's one idea. I mean, really, it's hard. There are how many millions of videos on YouTube, and how many more hundreds of hours uploaded every second. Very hard to keep, become a YouTube star. And I think that's one thing that we see the YouTube stars, and we see people like PewDiePie reputedly making $7 million a year. But that's the very thin tip of the iceberg. And most people on YouTube just do it for fun. Now, do you want to make money on this, or you just want to get more followers?
Yes, I do. Because ferrets can be sometimes expensive animals. So if I can brighten people's day and entertain them, because ferrets are quite frankly entertaining without me, that would be awesome because they sometimes do happen to have some very serious medical costs.
Yeah, they can be expensive to have a ferret.
So
I would definitely, I think better camera work.
Right.
Because nobody's going to watch a video that's moving all over the place. But I also think using your own personality, clearly you've got one. I mean, you've got some stuff. I would be interested in watching Jacob maybe talking about ferrets. It's the same problem as getting your blog noticed.
You've got to get above the noise. Noticed. You have to get above the noise somehow.
It's hard to do.
It's hard to do. And actually, something else that you could do that's really cheap is work on your SEO. Your titles right now are a little bit generic. If you, I mean, I hate to say it, but you got to go for the clickbait. You got to go for something that will look interesting. So it can't just be, I'm playing with my ferrets. It has to be, look at what this ferret does, or this ferret eats a watermelon. That's what brings people in.
You're awfully good looking. I think that you could have a whole, fan base of young female ferret lovers. and I
hope so.
And I think that I don't know how big that number could be, but I think the sky's the limit. I do. I'm serious. I think there's an opportunity here. But I think here's what's Tim Street, who is a great video producer, one of the early guys in video podcasts. He did the French Maids video and things. What Tim told me is the key to successful viral video is combining emotions, not just one emotion, not just humor, not just pathos, not just anger, not just surprise. The more you can combine in a single video, the more people laugh and cry and are surprised and delighted in various things, the better that video is going to do. So creating a viral video is not something you could do programmatically or automatically. Otherwise, people would do it all the time. It's kind of getting lightning in a bottle, but you can make your videos more appealing with, I would say, humor, right? What's bigger than humor? Nothing much bigger than humor. I mean, what's funnier than a priest holding a penguin in a hat? I mean, that's a joke. That's a joke waiting to be told. A priest and a penguin walk into a bar. So honestly, I personify the ferrets. I love what you've done so far with the Captain Jack Ferret. That's great. Continue to personify them. Put them in fancy outfits. I don't know what it is. Maybe that's a dangerous thing. Ferrets.
The fancy tea party. I like the tea party.
I like the ferret tea party. I'm brainstorming. I'm blue skying here. But it is very hard to get that stuff to happen. But combine humor and other elements, other emotional elements. You want to make people feel. You want to make laughter is the easiest one. And I think you're a good-looking fella. I think that there's a lot you could do with this. In fact, I think you're going to have. Look at this guy.
Aww.
He's the Justin Bieber of ferrets. I really think.
Thank you.
I'm serious. I think you're going to go places, my friend. You could be, the next the ferret king.
You're like Justin Bieber, except I don't want to turn off your video.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate
So you're on the right track. People are now watching you. But the problem is, if I went to that page and I looked at those videos, I go, that's nice, big deal. I want more from you. Put more into it.
Yes, sir. Before a few things though, I have to ask: am I the best dressed guest?
Yes.
Yes. Done. Thank you.
By the way, and that's only because the pocket square matches the bow tie.
Yeah, this is the only bow tie that I have that has the matching pockets.
You may try a fez though. I think a fez would go quite well with that.
I like his hair though. He's got attractive hair. Look, he has a little plaid cap.
Okay, yes, that works too. All right.
Oh my gosh.
Got it. Done.
I feel there's something here. I think we may be seeing a YouTube star in the making
I hope
right
so.
now. Captain
Thank you.
Jack Ferret. Thank you, Jacob. So a follow-up on Captain Jack. Jacob is still making YouTube videos. He did take some of our advice. They're a little less shaky, a little less crazy, but they still feature ferrets. Jack, we wish you the best in 2016. Coming up next, when the folks from Joby asked if I wanted to set things on fire and then take pictures of them, I said, heck yeah. So we managed to ignite steel wool. Yes, it burns. It burns very well, surprisingly well, actually, and photograph the dramatic events. No humans were injured in the shooting, but a word of warning, please, don't try this at home. I'm serious. Watch. You know what this is? You've seen this. I've been talking about this for years. It's one of those, those face creatures. No, it's a Joby Gorilla Pod. These things are the greatest things in the world. And our next two guests, Zach and Amanda, do videos for Joby and others. In fact, I first met you when you were trying to roll your motorcycle into our studios a few years ago.
Yes.
You guys motorcycled across the country.
Yes. We did. It was 85 days, 12,000 miles.
Oh, man.
We did it. We were filming a documentary.
Yeah. Is that all? Can I see it?
Yes, you can rent it if you go to PursuitHorizon.com.
Okay.
You can rent it right on there. Everything's good to go.
Oh, I have to watch that.
In fact, tell you what, if later on after the show I'll make an offer code for 25% off, just put in offer code TWIT.
Okay.
All lowercase. We'll do
all
it that
lowercase
way.
TWIT. Now, it's not active yet if you're watching live,
No,
but if you're seeing
it'll
this
be,
after the
yep.
fact. Say the website again, Pacific?
PursuitHorizon.
PursuitHorizon.com. That's you guys.
Yes.
That's us.
Stop
That's
working,
us.
start living. So Amanda and Zach did that, by the way.
Yeah. And we stopped off here, and Joby was one of our sponsors at the time.
Because you had cameras all over the motorcycles.
Right.
We ended up, that was so hard. The goal was to see, can we do an entire documentary and carry all the equipment ourselves without a support vehicle? We had three large film cameras, 3 helmet cameras, 7 1-terabyte hard drives, 2 laptops, audio recording. Then we had tent, sleeping bag, clothes, disclaimers, all trying to carry it on a motorcycle.
Crazy.
And film the whole thing.
I can't wait to see it.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Too much
So Joby liked what you did, and they said, you guys should make more videos. It's always good if you're a
That's
YouTube
true.
creator to have a sponsor, right? So Joby and Low Pro are 2 of your sponsors that help you do these videos, right?
Yeah, so right now we both work for Damon, which Joby is the main one, and then there's a couple other companies involved in there like Lopro. And we basically I create content all day with Amanda, and Amanda's our social media specialist, and she handles it.
I saw this video on YouTube of you guys playing with fire, and I said, I have to try that. But what was really interesting to me is it wasn't just any fire, it was steel wool. Do we have the YouTube videos of them messing around with steel wool, or am I just crazy? Yeah, you got it? Here you go. Now, it's good because you had an actual fireman there. This is a giant ball of steel wool. And now what you're doing, though, is not just shooting the video, you're also doing a time exposure. You're opening the lens on the camera for about 10 seconds, something like that?
This one I think is almost 20. It'll say
20
when the photo
seconds.
comes up because it's a large ball. This is a 12-inch ball of steel wool.
Amanda smart. She got the heck out of there.
Which is about 1 full package.
Look at that. Oh, my goodness. That is fun. How'd you get the idea for this?
Actually, all of our advocates and our fans on our Instagram page were posting really, really cool images. And we started messaging them and asking them how to do it, and they gave us instructions. And this is the first time we ever went out to try it, is when we did the video.
It's really cool. It's actually great. Now, it's good because you not only have a fire extinguisher there and a large can of flammable materials sitting right there, but you have a trained professional. This actually is an actual fireman who does the pyrotechnics for
Burning Man.
Burning Man.
He's a pyrotechnics master, a retired firefighter.
Wow.
Who does a whole lot of stuff for Burning Man.
All right, so I don't know who on my team thought this would be good if I did this, but the other day we went out to the parking lot. Rogers explained to me why this works. He says anything that rusts can burn.
Well, oxidation, it's the same.
It's the same
process.
Fire is just rapid rusting.
Yes.
Basically.
That's a first for us, too.
Yeah. No, if Roger says it, it's true. No, because it makes sense. Rust is oxidation. The combination of the metal plus oxygen gives you rust.
Yep.
If you could do it fast enough, you'd actually get a combustion. And now, so this is, now, by the way, let's read the disclaimer right now before we show this. This is not something for you to try at home, kids. This is absolutely dangerous. Steel wool photography may look harmless. First of all, I've got the burns to say it's not. There is a real risk of personal injury or property damage or death. Nobody's died yet due to fire that we know of.
Not that I know of, but
so what you're seeing is not instructional.
No, in no way is this meant to be an instructional video.
Don't do this.
We took a lot of precautions and we had to.
Gary, don't let your daughter do this, okay? She's 7 years old going, Daddy, I want to set metal on fire. So this is what you're using. It's not a Brillo pad. It's not SOS. It's very fine steel wool. You'll find this at the home improvement store, right? The people use it for like sanding and stuff like that,
Yeah,
right?
spray paint removal.
It is very fine. And how do you light this on fire? Do you have to have a blowtorch or something?
Nope, just standard lighter, and you go for it.
Don't! She almost lit me on fire. All right. So, and by the way, you make the ball. This is all really, I feel like we're making an instructional video. This is a bad idea. Do not do this. Do not take very, very, very fine steel wool,
and put it
fluff
in a
it up, put it in a whisk like that. Do not attach it to a dog leash like that. And whatever you do, if you do that, do not light it on fire.
Correct. Do not do that. Don't take photos of it.
Are you trained in this in any way?
We are trained professionals. That's why we have lab coats.
That's right here. That's everything. So it's all about.
That's the training. They put me in a lab coat. Shall we? We're not going to do it here.
No.
We are going to show you that we did this in an empty parking lot.
Right.
Correct.
You want to do it at night because you want it to be dark.
Has to be dark.
But you had nice lights. You had like studio lights.
We had lights, and the only way we were able to do it, we used lights, was because we were filming video too.
Oh, you want to see the before the
Normally, you don't need to film video.
Right.
So in order to do that while we're doing video, we used an ND filter for that. But normally, you would just set your camera, long exposure, and but you'll see the results.
Let's take a look. We're going to burn stuff right now, and I'm hoping that we're not going to burn ourselves as we burn stuff. How come you're not wearing goggles?
No, they're down here.
Oh, okay. So tell us what we're going to do, because I've never done this before.
So first thing you're going to do is we've already packed the steel wool for you. So we're just going to light it and then
steel wool? Wait a minute.
spin.
Slow down. You're not burning like wood shavings or cotton candy. You're burning steel?
Steel wool.
And why is that? Wouldn't it be better to pick something flammable?
Well, steel wool is flammable.
What?
There's enough oxygen in the steel that it burns.
Oh, so because it's such fine little things?
Right, so you
How
can't
hard
just-
is it to light, though?
It's super easy. So to start a campfire survival basics or whatever, you
Yeah.
can actually use steel wool and a battery.
No kidding.
So
And the battery blows up, and then you've got a fire.
nice fire.
Stand by the flaming torch! All right, she's using a standard barbecue lighter.
Go for it.
That's it? That's
Yep.
all you have to do?
Holy. Oh my God.
I can feel it in my hair. My precious hair.
There you go.
Close your eyes!
You lost it.
It fell off! Don't pick it up! Fire it up! Fire it up! I think she's aiming at us! Fire in the hole! Wow, that was awesome. That was so much better than I did. Son of a... That's a trust exercise. That was, of course, my lovely wife, Leo Laporte, trying to hit me. So what is this down here? This is a giant ball.
So normally what you were doing is you were burning
You're not gonna
about
do this,
2
are you?
inches,
Yeah.
which is one pack.
Yeah.
One little tiny spot.
One little
out of a 12
bunch
pack.
of this, yeah.
So at the end of the video that me and Amanda did, we burned 4 full packages
as a giant
on
2-foot ball.
On top of
2-foot ball.
Right. And that's the one that almost killed you because I could see it hit you.
The big thing is you see how horribly unathletic I am, and trying to swing it around really proved that. But it was so hot.
It's cool.
It was really hot.
Yeah.
It was really dangerous.
Don't do that one.
It should
That's
not
not
be
good.
done.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
But it's fun to see the size of that
Yeah.
thing. So you told me the trick on this is the clarity slider in Lightroom. You're shooting this with, in this case, a 5D Mark III. You set it for 10 seconds. You obviously have to get the exposure ahead of time because you're going to be fully manual. You don't want it to blow out. You want it to be bright enough to, to get the sparks, but not too bright.
So one thing we found that made it pretty simple is to get the shot set up and everything so you don't keep running through the steel wool.
Again, this is not an instructional video.
We set the camera for a longer exposure, between 8 to 10 seconds, which is what your normal steel wool is going to burn.
8 to 10 seconds.
8 to 10 seconds.
Okay.
And we used a flashlight.
How long did the big ball take?
The big ball is like 25, 30 seconds.
30 seconds, yeah.
It was quite a while.
All right.
So then what we did is we just used a flashlight.
Yeah.
And we sat there and we spun it. And
that's like the test shot.
Yeah, pointed towards it, and we're looking to make sure that we can see that it's not too dark, too bright. If it's too dark, you play around with the camera settings. You can do it with a DSLR, which is just a long exposure.
Right.
Or you could do it with a smartphone.
You can do it with a camera phone.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. For the iPhones, it's pretty easy because you can adjust the shutter speed.
You need manual. Yeah.
On the Android phones, some of them, it's really hard to get the shutter speed.
But on the S6 or the LG G4, no problem.
Right.
They have a manual.
Miriam had some good. I think last week
she's
she
done it on
talked
the
about some
G4.
good shutter speed
Got
gaps.
totally raw.
So that's all you really do. You set it up. Then once you're ready and you can tell with the light that's good, you light the steel wool, spin it around. Totally want to have goggles on.
Yes.
Well, not that this is an instructional video in any way, but if you were going to do it, please protect your eyes, not just from the fire, but from little bits of steel wool. You don't want to get steel wool in your eye. That is not good. This stuff is really fine.
Yeah, it gets everywhere, and especially for people who are into computers. Don't be playing around with this anywhere near your electronic gear or your camera gear, because I didn't realize it till after I did it, but there is little tiny fibers everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's better to do it outside.
Your trick in Lightroom was good, which is to pop the clarity. There's a little clarity slider in Lightroom, and that helped bring the sparks up a little bit.
Yeah, so when you bring it in, bring the blacks down just a tiny bit. Bring the clarity up to about 25%. You can go crazy and go higher, but it starts looking way unreal. Another one then is bring your contrast up just a little bit. So you can do it in Bridge, Lightroom, or Photoshop. I go through Bridge there, but I know a lot of people use Lightroom.
Yeah, Bridge will do it, that's right.
Bridge is the best way.
Zach, Amanda, you guys are great. What are you planning next?
Next, we have some stuff with drones that's all top secret. And then farther down the road, something with a whole lot of ST rockets.
ST's
whole lot of rockets.
No, really? A whole lot of rockets going on?
A lot of them. Just
this
a
is a
whole
good
lot of
job.
rockets.
Do you get paid to do this, or you just do this for fun?
We get paid.
to do
our
this.
full-time
That is
job.
a nice job.
It is.
Good going. Well done.
Anytime anyone creates content for a living and they do something they love,
it's worth
Well,
it.
you can't get better
it's
than
good
that.
because it's not work.
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of fun doing that.
Thanks.
It
It was fun having you on.
Thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Zach and Amanda, and thanks to Joby. Oh, man, that was fun. And, yeah, nobody was hurt. We did have fire extinguishers at the ready just in case. And, again, don't do this at home. We do hope to have Zach and Amanda back. They work right here in Petaluma, and they've got lots of new crazy ideas. In fact, I don't know if I could tell you about the next one, but it involves race cars and rockets. And it's going to be wild. We'll make sure we bring you that in the year to come. We hope you've enjoyed our best of 2015 as much as we've enjoyed doing the 2015 shows. I want to thank our great team. We couldn't do it without people like Tanya Hall and Karsten Bondi and Jerry Wagley, our producers. They work really hard to put this together. Our technical director for most shows, Brian Burnett. I think you've done them all right, Brian. Brian's not here today. All but this one. And we also want to thank our newest engineer, Kara. It's really great to have you. She did a lot of the handheld shooting, as did Alex Gumpel. Who else was a handheld? Victor did some. Victor Bognot, one of our engineers. If you haven't already subscribed to the show, we'd love it if you would. You don't want to miss any episodes in 2016. It's easy to find them. Go to twit.tv/NSS. You can find all the old shows there, too. So if you missed any, that's a great place to go. There's a subscribe button right there, or you can go to your favorite podcatcher like iTunes or the Apple TV apps. There's 4 of them now. The Roku app, apps on iOS, Android, Windows Phone, and hit that subscribe button. That way you won't miss a single episode. And We'd love to hear from you. Our email address is newscreensavers@twit.tv. Contact us with suggestions, criticisms, praise, questions for Call for Help too. That's newscreensavers@twit.tv. I'm Leo Laporte. Thanks for joining us and have a very happy and healthy 2016. We'll see you every Saturday right back here on the News Screen.